Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AusGamers. You are here with Stephen Farrelly, managing editor of the site. And we're here today to talk about this little guy, Yanni, and his first adventure from Coldwood Studios and EA, Unravel. It's probably a divisive game at the moment, which we'll get to, but I guess I wanted to kick things off with just kind of pointing out how cute this little guy is. He is definitely going to, be a fan favorite for quite some time. And as you can see here, and this is running on Xbox One, the visuals are amazing. Like, it's such a beautiful game. It's charming, it's wondrous, and it's got these really wonderful puzzles that we'll get to in a little bit as well. What does separate the game a little bit among people is the concept and premise. Now, you're looking here at a photo album, and the problem that a lot of people, myself included, have with the game is you're charged with going through all of the levels and sort of regaining these lost memories, which then go into this, photo album. So as you can see here, these are memories that need to be refilled. The biggest issue that anyone has with this is that nobody really cares about those memories. Here's an example of coming across a memory in the game world, and it's just, it's intangible, it's superfluous, it has no real bearing on anything that you're doing. The puzzles and Yanni are actually, the heroes of the game here, and it's really unfortunate that the studio has invested so much in terms of their media and their media presence into this concept that, you're trying to unravel this world, and the Yanni's yarn is the bond that ties us all, and it all gets a little bit airy-fairy, and I'm all for emotion in video games, but it shouldn't be at the exclusion of fun. And the bottom line here is that Yanni is a wonderful little character, and he's starring in a gorgeous-looking, side-scrolling, physics-based puzzler. And that should be the meat of the game, not this concept of, kind of finding out who we are and what we are as a race, which it just all seems a little bit too over the top. And as a result, it does impact the game a little bit. But let's talk a little bit more about, these wonderful puzzles. The game allows you to effectively create these little attachment points with your yarn, and there's also helpful little things in the environment that are all based on real world things that Yanni can use. So this wheel, for example, you can also pull rocks around. That actual bridge that he just made, he could actually jump on that and springboard himself as if it was a trampoline. So the game gives you a bunch of tools in which to play with, and often you have to really think laterally about what your yarn actually is. There are a handful of puzzles that you come across where actually wrapping one part of your wool around a part of the environment in order to sort of create a knotting point that isn't one of these glowing features is an actual way that you can work through some of these puzzles. So there's a little bit of a free-form approach, which is really wonderful given the sort of the style of the game that we're playing with. It's also fraught with danger. For as cute as Yanni is, he does go through some pretty terrible times, and the game does a really wonderful job of presenting these kind of real-world sort of scares to you. So, that car was never going to represent a problem. It's sort of a scripted event, but you do come across crows that want to eat you or maybe take you to your nest, and you drown Yanni, and you crush him, and he's constantly in danger's way, and especially the later into the game you get. So in many ways, you kind of really do need to be mindful of the fact that despite the fact that this little person you've got here is made of wool, he still represents the player character. He's still all about player agency, and you want to keep him alive, and for all of his cuteness, that's one of the main goals. And as you can see here from the tone of the level, you sort of do start the game out in sunshine and with this kind of really homely feel, and it does take you to some dark places. Now, these are supposedly represented within the story that you're unraveling, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, whatever. Um, but the truth of the matter is, they still didn't need to tie this to the story or the photo album and the memories that you're trying to unlock. If anything, it's just a journey, and that's what the game really should have been. It should have just been about the journey of this tiny little guy that you're taking through, these crazy impediments with these really kind of outlandish but very creative puzzles in this really lush world. So, in many ways, the game has done a really great job of presenting to you the realities of, what it means to kind of push a little person through dangers and keep him alive. But it took it a little bit too far in thinking that it could humanize the entire experience by, I don't know, just going over the top, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of whatever message it is that they're trying to get across. Not that there isn't room for that in video games, but they just don't do a very good job of it here. And I just bought into Yanni and the puzzles and the environment way more than I bought into the premise. So for us, it was an 8 out of 10.